Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
It is episode 500. We've done this for, I think it's about 9.5 years, almost 10 years now. We've gotten to do some cool interviews. We've gotten to talk from opposite sides of the world 500 times, roughly, give or take a few. Missing bits and pieces here, but yeah, I figured we'd start off the show and I guess talk a little bit about some of the cool stuff we've gotten to do, or some of our favorite things that we've gotten to do. I don't know if you have anything prepared on your side.
Yeah, I guess I do. My favorite thing we've done is the interview with Mike Rowe.
Yeah, it's real hard to beat that one.
Yeah, it was just so much fun getting to mark out with a fellow Mark.
Yeah, it's such a weird way to get it as well. Like,
yeah.
So for people who weren't around in that era, I think it was pretty early on. I'd say first 100 episodes or something. I went to a comic convention here in New Zealand. I was dressed up as the Ultimate Warrior, and I met an actor, Mike Rowe, from the TV show Arrow. And he liked the get-up, and we ended up talking. And then, yeah, we booked him, and I think we talked for over an hour to Mike.
Yeah. It was just so much fun. Just talking with him, memories, stuff like that. So, yeah, it was just a lot of fun with that particular interview. I mean, the biggest thing we ever did was with Karma, by far. But while I enjoyed that, I enjoyed the one with Mike Rowe a lot more because we got to be a lot more in control of what we were able to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to basically just BS for an hour and a half, for however long it was, with him. And so, yeah, it was pretty cool. We were limited on our time with the Karma interview, and there were also, obviously, a lot of topics we could not talk about.
Yeah, that's always the harder part when you are interviewing a pro wrestler or somebody, I guess, about things like that. There's always going to be things you can and can't touch on. But as you say, I guess the Mike Rowe ones, we could just go. It was 50 minutes in the end, but I might have cut that down. I don't remember for sure, but yeah. Definitely a highlight, I think. And I've just double checked. If you go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/WrestlingRND these are all in a playlist. Any sort of interview that we talk about, as well as all 500 of our previous episodes, if you want to check them out and listen back to any of them. For me, I got a couple of experiences, but I guess the first one would just be the first interview I did in person. Which was Hacksaw Jim Duggan coming on down to New Zealand for, again, another convention. And it's this whole different vibe getting to, sit down in a chair with them and just talk to these cool people about their stories and, take a photo with them afterwards. I gave them a gift full of, New Zealand lollies and stuff like that as well. And that was, I guess, my first experience doing media interviews. He didn't think I did too bad, but that was 2014, I want to say. We were only a couple of years into it at that point. And so, yeah, that one's a bit of a highlight as well.
Yeah, that was definitely pretty cool when I listened back to it. I think, personally, of your solo interviews, my favorite interview that you did was with me.
Yeah,
because I just thought the stories were so cool with it.
Yeah, same sort of thing again. This time it was in a different city. Haku Ming was here and just again sat down, just talked to the guy. If I recall, he was still doing his autograph signing, or he had to go to his autograph signing afterwards. So we were just sort of shooting the shit in the amount of time that we had before he had to run off. And I would probably give him the award for most down to earth guy that has ever been on the show as an interview person or anything like that. Was a great one. And then
also, let me say one other thing.
Yep.
I will be 100% honest with you here. I thought we'd get bored of this and it would last only 6 months.
Yeah.
I am 100% honest with you. I did not expect it to go almost 10 years.
Yeah, I think we've told the story a couple of times on like our anniversary shows and stuff like that, but we started off doing like basically a written podcast, same sort of concept on a forum that's long since gone. And then yeah, I got this stupid idea, hey, let's put it on radio in New Zealand. And here we still are, 500 episodes later.
I figured we'd either get bored of it and just quit, or we'd get thrown off the air.
We haven't been thrown off the air yet. Thanks, Phil, Mike, and everybody else who's helped out from FreeFM's side of things. Been super helpful throughout the whole process, whether that be, in the early days, we recorded this in the studio in Hamilton, New Zealand, and I had to get them to add an Ethernet port so I could plug in my laptop for internet because the Wi-Fi sucked in that building, and there was just a bunch of things, and they were so supportive along the way. And then I moved to Auckland, and then we recorded from my house, and then I've moved around. I think I've recorded this in 5 different houses now, but it's weird, right? Because you thought the same thing, 6 months and we'd be out.
Yeah, in my case, it's been 3 different houses with a 4th temporary recording location. Because the Mike Rowe interview I did sitting in a college cafeteria. So that was technically a 4th location.
Yeah, I talked about this as well on my interview for the radio station. They did maybe about 6 months ago. And I've recorded around the world this podcast while I've been traveling. So I've recorded, I think, about 4, maybe 5 episodes in Europe or Australia. I've just had to take a portable microphone setup and a laptop, and we sit down every week, and that's the rule. We've recorded over, Christmas days, while I've been traveling. No matter what's going on, the one constant in my life for the last 9.5 years is that I will sit down and I will talk for half an hour into a microphone to Josh about professional wrestling, and then I will edit that up and go put it on the radio. And 9.5 years is a crazy amount of time when I think about it.
Yeah, certainly.
And then the last cool thing that I got to do that I'll just throw in before we move on to talking about NXT Halloween Havoc, because I'm sure you don't want to just listen to me talk for 15 minutes about this cool show we get to do, was when New Japan came over to New Zealand a couple years ago for On The Mat, and I got to interview a bunch of the guys that were going to be on that. Aaron Henare, Marcus Cool, Jay White, Bad Luck Fale, and just got to basically help them promote that show. I found out afterwards that I was meant to be the MC moderator for their interviews that they were doing with the VIP package. They had a room full of VIP people who'd paid more for their tickets, and they had the New Japan superstars come in and stuff, and I was meant to be the MC for that, but nobody told me, and so I showed up to the venue half an hour after that VIP experience started, and luckily David Dunn, another big name in New Zealand professional wrestling scene, stepped up and took that role, but I still got to do the latter half and talk to people and hit up the superstars there and everything like that. But yeah, On The Mat was a pretty cool all-round experience. To break up the show nicely, I'm going to actually just go into our song, I think. We'll go into our song, and then when we come back, we will talk about NXT Halloween Havoc, we will talk about Raw, we will talk about Smackdown, and we will stop talking about ourselves. But this week's entrance theme of the week, it is the Dungeon of Doom WCW theme. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. I promised NXT Halloween Havoc. Let's get into it. We got 6 matches announced at this time. Let's talk about Apollo Crews, Grayson Waller. They've been going back and forth. Apollo Crews looking amazing since he's come back down to NXT, and they're going to spin the wheel and make a deal.
Yeah, does look like it. I'm going to guess they'll end up with a first blood match. Just based on the whole feud about bleeding from the eyes and stuff, I have a feeling that that's going to be the stipulation.
Yeah. It make a bit of sense. I think with this feud going into it, like Grayson Waller has picked up so many losses in a row, but Apollo Crews is also sort of coming back down. This is like his first feud since returning down to NXT, so bit of a toss-up, this one.
Yeah. I think at this point, Grayson Waller is a character that it doesn't really matter if they win or lose. Because they'll get their heat right back immediately. I think Apollo Crews takes the win here.
I think I'm with you on that. Apollo Crews just, he seems positioned for big things. I could see him picking the NXT North American Championship back up. When he came down, he teased going for the NXT Championship. I think he's going to head himself back up that NXT card for sure. Our next match, it is the explosion of the Diamond Mine, or at least one chunk of it. Damon Kemp will be taking on Julius Creed in a ambulance match, 1-on-1. But if Julius loses, his brother Brutus Creed will have to leave NXT. Bit of a convoluted stipulation here, but trust us, it makes sense.
Yeah. This should be a pretty good fight. This is not going to be a match.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a fight. Let's be honest.
Meaty men.
I think Julius Creed wins.
Okay.
Simply because I don't think they're ready to bring the Creed brothers up to the main roster.
Yeah.
And they would have to if he loses. But I could be wrong, and they could bring him up, and we could see him on Raw or SmackDown immediately afterwards.
Yeah, I'm gonna flip that. I'm gonna go with the Damon Kemp win. I can't pick the same one with you every time. I don't know. I feel like there's something here with the whole Brutus and Julius stuff. That just having Julius win, not necessarily as fun. And I'm pretty high on Damon Kemp. I'm also pretty high on the Creed brothers, to be fair. But I want to see more out of Damon. And I think him winning here just sort of propels him up a little bit and can give him a bit more momentum into whatever storyline he's going to head into next. And I want to see good things out of everybody. Out of the Creeds, out of Kemp, out of all of them. Alrighty, we got our last non-title match. It is another spin the wheel, make a deal match, but it has already been spun. We're going to be seeing Roxanne Perez take on Cora Jade in a Weapons Wild match.
Yeah, the feud's been cool and all, but a lot of my interest just died on Tuesday night.
On Tuesday? That's NXT night, right?
Yep. When Roxanne Perez got pinned by Rhea Ripley.
Okay.
I don't know. It kind of makes me think that it's going to be Roxanne Perez winning the match.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's what I found online.
Shut up.
Shush all those bots. The robots are taking over.
Yeah. I don't see any point in putting her over. I mean, you can't put her over Rhea. That would be completely stupid. But at the same time, you shouldn't put her in a match with somebody of Rhea's level either, because that just hurts Roxanne in the end. And you have this big feud that you've been building and building and building with Cora.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting. The Pick Your Poison matches, as you said, on Tuesday. Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez. It was a distraction from Dominic Mysterio, so it wasn't necessarily clean, but Roxanne does go under. And then on the other side, it was Raquel Rodriguez versus Cora Jade, with Cora Jade going over. Again, not very clean. But yeah, it does seem to be lining up for a Roxanne Perez win at Halloween Havoc for sure. Well, usually that's the case, right? Whoever doesn't have the momentum going in.
Yeah, especially if it's a babyface that doesn't have momentum.
Hmm.
And Roxanne Perez is definitely the babyface in this feud. So
What gave that away?
so yeah, so that's my pick. Roxanne Perez. I'm just less interested because of the stuff on Raw, on NXT on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty then. First of 3 title matches, the NXT North American Championship being vacated by Solo Sikoa. It is going to be a 5-way ladder match. Carmelo Hayes taking on Oro Mensah, taking on Wesley, taking on Von Wagner, taking on Nathan Frazier, who defeated Axiom in the best of 3.
This is going to be one wild ladder match. I think there are going to be some tricks that are going to be pulled out of people's hats. I think you're going to see some crazy stuff in this match.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of the day, the person that walks out with the North American Championship is going to be Wesley.
Yeah, that's definitely where the storyline feels like it's like built for, right? Like Wesley had that chance to skip the qualifier. He said, no, I want to fight for it. He fought for it. He got the spot. If I'm looking at all the guys in here, a couple of them a little bit too green to put the title on for me. I don't want to give it back to Carmelo. He's just had it. Let him run
Twice.
off. Yeah, he's just had it twice. Let him run off and go do other things. For me, it's Wesley or Von Wagner, but the storyline really does seem to support Wesley a lot more.
I will say this. I'm not as big on Von Wagner's. I think if it's not Wesley, it's Nathan Frazier.
Okay.
I think the whole 3 matches thing also helped build his story towards it, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it makes the most sense to put the title on either Wesley, who was supposed to have been in the match that Solo Sikoa was in, or just the fresh name of the Nathan Frazier.
Fair.
So I'm going with Wesley. I think that's who walks out with the title. That could shock us all, and it could be Oro Mensah. I don't know. Or they could bore us and it'd be Carmelo Hayes again.
Man, please, anything but Carmelo Hayes. Like, he's great, but please. Alright, last 2 matches. We got the NXT Women's Championship on the line. Mandy Rose going up against Alba Fire. Could she be the one to dethrone Mandy?
This has been a crazy feud. And that's saying something considering some of Mandy's feuds as champion. I think I want to say this is going to be the time. But we have said that every single event the last 4 months.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be the person that does it. This is going to be the time for Mandy to drop.
Who's left?
Yeah, who's left? This feud has been built in such a way that it feels like it really is time. It really is the person to do it. I just don't know if I want to go with it because track record says Mandy's going to win.
Yeah.
But I'll cave and I'll go with a brand new champion being Alba Fire.
Yeah. I ditto on everything you said. I think Alba Fire wins, but I've said that. I think I've bet against Mandy Rose 4 or 5 times now and been wrong every time. But I will continue to bet against Mandy Rose. Our main event, our triple threat match for the NXT Championship. It is Bron Breakker versus Ilya Dragunov versus JD Madonna. And we've got a looming threat of Austin Theory and his briefcase that we can't forget about as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely the exclamation point at the end of NXT on Tuesday night. I think Iliad wins the match and immediately loses the title.
You thinking this is going to be a Theory cash-in?
I think so. It would be... Listen.
He's not beaten Reigns.
Yeah. Not only that, but it elevates the NXT Championship. Yeah. Because it now makes it possible for you to cash in on NXT champions.
Yeah.
Making that championship more important.
We did do that with the Rumble.
For the world champion. Yeah. So I think this is the next logical step in that. So that it does make NXT a legitimate third brand. And so going from NXT to Raw or SmackDown isn't going to be a step up. It'll be a step sideways, like Tommaso Ciampa wanted it to be when they originally started the USA NXTs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to just put all my money on Ilya and then ignore the fact that Theory exists because I want Ilya as champion.
Yeah, I just think it'd be pretty cool because it'd be something that hasn't been done before.
Definitely.
And it would just change the dynamic, change the rules. You would still have Ilya in the main event scene because then he would have the chase Austin Theory.
Mm-hmm.
And gets the title off of Braun Breaker, which allows him to move on to the main roster or go laterally to Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah.
And I think Theory could have some amazing matches with guys like Iliad, JD McDonagh, Kamala Hayes, and it gives him some spotlight with the title and not have to be the world title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a little bit of logic to it as well. Like if you're Austin Theory and you're looking at the world titles being held with Roman Reigns right now, you're like, my odds of winning there are a little bit lower. I can go down to NXT, win that, and still get a world championship win. It's not a bad win. To quickly brush through Raw and SmackDown, then we only have about 5 minutes left. Let's go with the US title scene for Raw. There's quite a lot happening. It was Seth Rollins. He successfully defended against Matt Riddle. Prior to the match, Elias returned. Seems to be involving himself a little bit there. And ultimately, though, at the end of the show, Mustafa Ali coming out and seemingly putting himself next in line for that United States Championship.
Yeah. By the way, something that we didn't actually talk about when he won the title, Seth Rollins is the second person to become a 2-time Grand Slam champion.
Right behind Miz.
Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting run. It'll be interesting to see who actually can take the title off Seth. I think Seth has it for a couple months.
You don't think Mustafa Ali's winning it?
It's possible, but I don't think it'll be anytime soon. Especially with a certain event that's about to happen. So I think it's going to be a case where it's going to be they're building somebody towards him. We just don't know who it is yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems as though the next feud will be Mustafa Ali. I think he will do well. I don't think it will be his time to capture the United States Championship. Rollins is seemingly done with Riddle for now after this match, surely. And so, yeah, kind of opens things wide up. Randy Orton's got to be getting ready for a return soon or something, right?
We would hope, but I have not heard anything positive about his injury in a while. Anything that I've heard, which was weeks ago, was that it was worse than people had thought.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a possibility we may not see Randy Orton
for a while
at all for the rest of the year. It's possible we may never see him in the ring again because we don't know what the injury was.
Well, we wish him all the best. Same as over on the show that Josh will not name with Hangman. Luckily, it looks to be quote-unquote just a concussion. But given the bit of a spooky end to that show, I'll take just a concussion. Jumping to SmackDown, let's stay on the mid-card titles. They're a good little topic to talk about. And it wraps a few things up. Rey Mysterio so badly doesn't want to fight his son that he jumps brands entirely. He seems to be sticking to his guns of, I don't want to fight Dominic. Yeah,
it's definitely interesting. I think at some point his hand will be pushed into doing it. I think it's going to be a case like it was with The Undertaker against Kane the first time.
Yeah.
Undertaker just did everything he could not to fight Kane. And Kane and Paul Bearer just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed his buttons until he finally exploded, literally, because he came out of a coffin and said, I swore I'd never do it, but I'm going to fight you at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it worked out well then, and I'm sure it'll work out well again here. But the one requirement for that is that Rey Mysterio survives his next matchup. There was a fatal 4-way match to earn a shot at Gunther's Intercontinental Championship. It was Sheamus, Ricochet, Solo Sikoa, and Karrion Kross, but Drew took out Karrion Kross earlier in the night, and Rey Mysterio managed to slide into that match, cause a lot of jumping around and flippy stuff with Ricochet, and ultimately came out with the shot.
Yeah, plus it did something else for us. It split the Brawling Brutes off of Gunther, which gives them a possibility of possibly feuding with the Bloodline.
That is true. Sheamus and Solo Sikoa, and Usos and Brawling Brutes. Definitely a good choice.
And then throw in... he's not part of the Brawling Brutes, but because he's from the British Isles area, throw in Drew McIntyre.
Why not?
And then you can have Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns in it, too.
Or you can give Sheamus a shot. Come on.
No, I'm saying because War Games, baby.
War Games, that's true.
That's what I'm talking about.
Can't forget War Games is just around the corner. But that is it. That is the cause. We've run out of time on this, our 500th episode. We didn't get to talk much about Raw and SmackDown, but we will do a lot more of that next week. It's been great talking to you for the 500th time.
Bye.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestling R&D up, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/wrestling R&D up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/wrestling R&D up. And we'll see you next week for the next 500 episodes, the next 9.5 years.